Hey guys, welcome back to Minecraft The End. Today we'll be reading chapter 18, which is titled Telos. Starts on page 184 and goes to page 196. If you guys have enjoyed our book so far, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more Minecraft novels and more books. Without further ado, chapter 18, Telos. It was quiet in the city. Finn felt like himself again. Tall, dark, and strong, magenta eyes and a square jaw. Jess looked magnificent as an Enderman, but all the Endermen looked magnificent. Finn had always thought they were clearly the most beautiful species. If you wanted to be objective about it, just walk casual, Finn whispered, and don't talk. You're supposed to be telepathic. They stood on the edge of the city center. Black figures moved silently back and forth on the streets. Behind them, Finn and Jess could just see the shapes of their ship floating off the island shore. He repeated the plan to himself, in and out, and back to the ship with the grindstone. Cole and Rory will meet us there. No problem. Jester cocked her head to one side. I'm not, though. Yeah, I got that, Finn said, distracted. That's very odd, don't you think? No, you're a human. So are you, Finn, but you communicate telepathically with Mo and Ken, and I presume all the other Endermen down here. I'm no different than you were when we met now. A human with a pumpkin on her head, which makes her look like an Enderman, but I'm not an Enderman. The pumpkin doesn't give me mind reading powers, but you have them. Why? What's different? Finn rubbed his eyes, exasperated. Knock me dead if I know. Jess, yesterday I wanted to kill all humans. Today I am one. It's a lot. Let's just get this over with. Can you read my thoughts? Even if I can't read yours. Might be useful. Finn tried. Nothing. He looked hard into Jess's mind. He searched for that image that always greeted a telepath when they tried to read a new person. Most ship, his open books, Ken's music, Kanika's family. I'm Jester's head. He saw a perfectly built cathedral, beautiful, soaring, intricate, each stone in its place. That architecture precise and perfect. And the door was shut. She was just human. She didn't know how to let her thoughts out or let others in. It was no use. No, he said. Too bad, answered Jess. Yeah. Where's the armory? Finn pointed to one of the fattest, tallest pagoda towers. It's purple, roof forked up at the ends like the branches of the chorus tree. All of the buildings in the inn look alike, but not identical. Whoever built them liked things just so. The buildings matched the trees and the land. It all went together. Finn imagined that appealed to Jess, the builder, quite a bit. On the third level, where the courtyard looks a bit big, like a big mushroom, there's a door and a couple of shulkers there. Like your shulker? No, Finn laughed. Grumpo talks about biting me a lot. They actually will. Jester patted her hip. She wore a long diamond sword with a fire aspect enchantment on it. It was easily the most fantastic weapon Finn had ever seen. It would have looked so good hanging over Grumpo's box. Really tie the whole room together. Oh well. He squeezed the handle of Cole's crossbow. The boy had lent it to him. Courage had left them with so little to protect themselves. Hold on to me and I'll teleport us both right in, Finn said, holding out his hand. The inner pearl in his infinite human pocket was still good. He didn't know about it yet, because he hadn't had a moment to think about why he could teleport when he was just a human boy. But it lay there in his pocket anyway, putting out the last dregs of its energy for him to use. Jess took his hand, and the next thing either of them knew, they were standing inside the Tellison armory. Finn and Mo's collection surrounded them. Finn gasped. The twins hadn't always kept their treasure organized and tidy, but at least they treated each item with care. Each thing was precious to them, even if it wasn't necessarily sorted into categories and stacked neatly. Nobody seemed to care about their stuff here. The room was huge, and everything Finn and Mo owned was thrown into great sloppy piles for anyone to take whatever they wanted, without cleaning up after themselves. Weapons, armor, food, ore, potions, all just tossed together into a tottering trash heap. It glittered into the torchlight. Finn had never really realized just how much they collected. The Ender soldiers must have dumped it all back here when the war failed to get within wearing, ready to get passed out again at a moment's notice. No wonder Kraj had commanded it all. There was hardly anything in the Enderman army that didn't belong to them. If not for Mo and Finn, it seemed as though the end would have had to defend itself with just a couple of small sticks and a stern expression. Jester opened her mouth to say something. Finn held his finger up to his lips. Funny how quickly and easily he made that gesture. Enderman never had to. Not quiet, like the quiet in the end. You didn't think with your mouth, so you wouldn't shush with it anyway. He'd never even seen anyone do it before, that he could remember. Anyway, which was saying much. Yet his finger flew up like he'd done it 1,000 times. Instinct, habit, just pointed instead. She pointed to something dull and gray sticking out from under a small mountain of boots. The grindstone. Finn glided across the room. He saw that Jess was impressed. His chest puffed out a little. Yeah, he can move like an Enderman. Easy, can't you? It wasn't really gliding. He just moved his feet in a certain quick way and it looked like gliding. Instinct, habit. Finn landed on the small mountain of boots. He reached down to wiggle the grindstone out of the trash heap as quietly as possible. All hail the great chaos, Commander Kraj. May the great chaos smile upon all your works and deeds, Corporal Murrum. Finn's head snapped up toward the door. He glanced quickly at Jess. She was standing out in the open in the middle of the armory, totally unprotected. Hide, he thought. They're coming. Kraj and Murrum are right outside. Jess blinked. She spread her hands. What? Of course, she couldn't hear him. Humans. Telepathy was just so much better than talking. He tried to communicate with his eyes. Hard to stare at Jess, hard to stare at the door. Finn waved his hands as if pushing her back. Jess got the message. She ducked down behind a stack of water buckets and shovels, just as the two grim, straight-backed soldiers walked into the armory. Finn was shocked to see one of them was Kanika, the juvenile Enderman from the Interdome. She looked terrifyingly blank. Behind them, more Endermen followed. Kraj's personal brain squad was no longer just 15, but 59 soldiers. Kraj spoke only to Murrum. The rest were just there to make the commander cleverer. Living, breathing buffs. You may deliver your report, Corporal Murrum. Kraj clasped his hands behind his back. He looked younger than he had ever had. Power made him feel feisty, Finn supposed. The portal is gone, sir. Kraj looked benevolently at his underlying out of the corner of his purple eye. But beneath that benevolence, Finn felt the threat of the old Enderman's anger. Sir, Murrum, not sir. It is sir, now. Of course, sir, of course. The mouth of the great chaos blessed me with a royal title. Corporal Murrum squinted and squirmed uncomfortably. I thought you decided you should have a little after you threw Irsha off a cliff because she ordered everyone to disband the army and go back to their homes on account of there being no human invasion after all. Commander Kraj's eyes bored into Murrum's. Where did you hear this utter slander. His thoughts thundered skull to skull. Some of the inner soldiers were talking after hours. And that is all, sir. The Lord of all Endermen towered above the poor soldier. You are mistaken. Ursha is completely fine and resting comfortably at her house. It was she who chose to honor me. I am the humblest of all Endermen. You know that, Murum. I apologize deeply, my lord. The corporal shifted back forth uncomfortably. Well, in any event, the portal is gone, sir. Closed? No, sir, gone. Can you not feel it? Of course I feel it. Do you think me, a meek old Enderman without his senses? Cross exploded. No, sir. Corporal Murum cowered. Finn's knees ached, crouching on the mound of boots. They were so slippery he tried to hold on with his toes. If he moved, Quaj and his goons would hear. The commander collected himself. Humans are a clever, sneaky species. They specialize in deception, the way spiders exercise the weaving of webs. Certainly, Commander Murum thought miserably. Shall we start returning all of this to the enderless fragments then, since the portal is gone and there is to be no war? Kraj looked at his manservant incredulously. Return it, whatever for. I need it, all of it. I cannot foresee a time when I will not need it. The human army would not just give up their ambitions. Murum, no. The answer is simple. They are already here. Thousands of them. All around us, every moment. Why? They may be here in Telos already. In this very tower, in this very armory, we no longer feel the vibrations of the portal because they have shut it behind them. They do not intend to return home. No mercy, no surrender. What a cruel and heartless strategy from a cruel and heartless people. The horror of the ruthless, calculating human heart settled down onto Corporal Murum's shoulders. How do you know, sir? Have you had word? How do I know? Why, I have thought about it long and hard. I have imagined with the powers of my very good and fully stacked brain. I have come to be a logical conclusion. To me, it is perfectly obvious that this is what has happened. I am the wisest Enderman ever to live, after all. With my end, Cross gestured at the squad behind him. No one can outthink me. No, Corporal Murum. They are hiding their vast army among us. This cannot be denied. What will you do, sir? Finn's legs screamed with the effort of holding still, keeping a grip on the grindstone, and not sliding down the pile of boots, head over feet. I will protect my people, of course. Do not fear. Pumpkins are just fruit, after all, and fruit can be bruised. A dark smile showed itself between the words of Kraj's thoughts. Everyone must be interrogated, one by one. I shall do this sad but necessary work. It is a sacrifice I am willing to make. We will uncover the saboteurs. We will punish them, but not as we usually do. That is too quick and merciful. We will make an example of them so that every human ear in the overworld hears what happens to invaders and plunderers in the Kraj's kingdom. And finally, the end will return its great peace once more. And that's when it happened. Finn couldn't hold still any longer. If he just moved his right leg an inch or so, he'd be on flatter ground. He wouldn't have to hold on so tight. It'd be fine. He could do it without making noise. Sweet relief was just an inch that way. Finn slowly worked his foot over a pair of boots held in place by his heel, slipped, and started to slide down the pile. Held in place by his heel, slipped, and it started to slide down the pile. The boots had hard metal soles. Finn watched it happening with horror. He remembered finding that boot on the outer islands with Mo a million years ago. They had a they had a middling strength, blast protection, enchantment on them. Pretty good boots, all in all. They were going to make such a loud clang when they hit the ground. But he couldn't stop it. It was like it was happening to someone else. In slow motion, Finn was frozen. Just then, a loud crash sounded from across the room. It totally swallowed up the sound of the old boot clattering onto this armory floor. Kraj, Murrum, and the 58 soldiers behind them snapped to attention. The Lord of all Endermen shrieked like a tea kettle, devouring an air raid siren, and shot across the room toward the water bucket, skittering across the floor. The commander punched through the stack of water buckets with one black fist. Finn's heart jumped into his throat. Jess was back there. But she wasn't. Kraj kicked the other water buckets aside in a fit of rage. Perhaps it was a stray endermite, sir. Murrum tried to calm his master. Kraj shoved him aside. You fool! They are here! How strange, Finn thought. Kraj was right. The humans were here. But he was so wrong, too. And Jess. She covered for him. Why? He wasn't anything to her. Why would she risk Kraj's wrath for him? Finn suddenly saw a glint in the torchlight. Jess's eyes between a teetering pyramid of gold and a barrel of cocoa beans. Not using telepathy was garbage. Finn decided firmly. How could humans stand it? If Jess had been like him, he could have just shown him what she wanted him to do in an instant. Jess mouthed something. Finn squinted in the dim light, trying to make it out. Teleport. Go. Leave me. No way, Finn mouthed back. Not a chance. Ender Jess, still slick and tall and black in the pumpkin helmet that distinguished her so well, rolled her purple eyes while Kraj raged at the water buckets. She crept out from behind the gold stash into complete silence. Jess slipped into formation with the 59-strong squad, waiting patiently for their commander to come to his senses. Finn tensed when he saw Jess was standing right behind Kanika. But if that fragment noticed, she didn't give any sign. 59 was a lot of people. If you didn't count, you'd never know there was one extra. Finn sighed with relief. Jess was awfully good at this. Sound the alarms, Murrum, Kraj roared. Intruders, Endermen. With me, we will carve out the human menace. The Brain Squad came to attention. They turned as one to march out of the armory and into the city again, where they could rejoin the assembled forces of the end. 2, 3, 4, hop! In perfect time, they beat their path through the great door. Wait, the Lord of all the Endermen. The booming thought sliced through the minds of everyone in the room. Kraj seemed bigger and taller than ever as he flowed over to the troops. Fee, fi, fo, fum, he hummed. I smell the blood of too many Endermen. Kraj's dark hand fell upon Jess's shoulder. I do not know you, soldier, he thought coldly. What is your name? To what end do you belong? Jess stared up miserably into those boiling purple eyes. She couldn't understand him. She wasn't telepathic. To her, there was nothing in the armory but silence and danger. I said, give me your name, soldier, bellowed the thoughts of Kraj. Do not defy your lord. But poor Jess could no more hear his words than she could hear Jack snoring in the overworld. And if she spoke, no pumpkin in the world could hide what she was. She tried to inch her hand toward her sword. Kraj's body flushed a deep, ugly red. His fury built and built until it was flashing and clanging inside him like a fire alarm. Finn couldn't believe it. With so many Endermen around, Kraj should have been in the total control of himself. The mindless rage of the berserker Enderman should have stayed a million miles away. But there it was, plain as the red on Commander's face. Hold her still, Kraj commanded. The inner squad obeyed without question. Kanika and the other soldiers seized her arms in a grip worse than any iron. Sir, protested Muram, it is only a fragment. Are you really going to let her get caught right now? Finn asked himself. Really, Finn? She tried to save you, and you're just going to watch him lose his mind on her. Move your feet, you coward. But Finn couldn't. He wanted to. He really, really did. But his feet couldn't do what he told them to. Commander Kraj raised his fist into the air. In one terrible blow, he threw Jess across the whole of the armory. She crashed through a jumble of pickaxes and smashed into the far wall. Jester sank into the ground. She moaned. She put her hand up to the back of her head. It came away covered in shattered pumpkin. Slowly, horribly, the helmet cracked and fell forward. Kraj and Muram and 58 other Endermen itching for war stared into fascination at their first human invader. The scream of the triumph that came out of Kraj in that moment could have shattered every glass bottle in the room. Had he screamed out loud and not directly into all the minds until they had ached, it sounded like the devil's nails down all chalkboards in hell. See? Do you see? I was right as rain. He went completely red and bent his head to charge Jess. Finn's feet still wouldn't obey him, but that sound knocked the fear right out of him. Fine. If his legs wouldn't work, his arms would have to do. In one fluid motion, Finn pulled up his crossbow, yanked back the firing mechanism, and shot the Lord of all Endermen directly between the shoulder blades. All hail the great chaos, Finn whispered. It happened so fast. Kraj crumpled like an old umbrella. The red light of his anger went out. He hit the ground, but it had hardly made a sound. Oh no, Finn thought. What have I done? Poor old Kraj, all his long, boring stories. I killed him. And his stories. I killed an Enderman in the end. In his own land. What a good human I have turned out to be. Two things happened at once. Corporal Muram teleported into the direction of the crossbow bolt, and Jess leapt forward, flaming diamond sword in hand. She moved her way through the 59 Enderman bodyguards. Jess slashed left and right, slicing down and ripping up. It wasn't even a contest. Her blade cut through them like they were nothing. No, thought Kraj weakly. No, I need them. Jess spun around and hacked another soldier into two. Stop! I was right. Muram, I was right. There she is, the human menace among us. I was right. The Enderman warriors tried to fight back, but there were no match. Some of them broke and ran. They blinked out, teleporting away, abandoning their commander. Kanika looked directly into Finn's eyes. 1, 2, 3 more went down. By the great chaos, I believe I have journeyed too far and too swiftly, Kanika thought. Just as they had that day, they met out on the dunes above the Enderdome. But now her thoughts were the color of a heartbreak and horror. She vanished in an instant, just as Jess's words silenced through the space where she stood. Kraj howled, Stop! I need those soldiers. I need my end. I don't want to go back. I am the wisest of all Endermen. I am the wise. The last of the squad sank to his knees and toppled forward. Jess panted in the middle of her carnage. The bodies were already disappearing, leaving their pearls behind. Kraj's mind dissolved into the mindless scream of blind and thoughtless rage, and then it was silent, too. And all that was left was a withered, greenish-gray gem with a dull, dark shine deep within it. Corporal Murrum bore down on Finn. He was alone now. Nobody here but us humans, Finn thought in a panic. Murrum's mind was a blank. All I wanted to do was kill. There was no one home behind those familiar purple eyes anymore. Murrum didn't see Finn. He didn't see anything. He just saw a target. I had to, Finn thought. I had to do it. He closed his eyes, clutched the grindstone to his chest, and waited for the worst. It didn't come. Endermen flooded into the armory in a black wave. They followed the death cry of Kraj into the room. As soon as the mass of them drew near, the stack initiated, and intelligence returned to the corporal's eyes. Intelligence, a cold hate. Seize them immediately, Murrum ordered. Jess lifted her sword again, but they rushed her too fast. She got one, two, and then they had her. Keep the human for questioning. That a fragment known as Finn murdered our beloved commander. We will also ask him a question. That question will be, what method of execution would you prefer? Finn, just teleport away. Don't risk yourself. Jess yelled. What was the point of staying quiet now? I'm not leaving you, he yelled back without thinking. Well, that's completely stupid, Jess hollered. Murrum staggered back, away from the sound of Finn's human voice. Oh, Finn thought, oh, I actually am an idiot. Endermen don't talk. Faster than Finn could regret his recent life choices, Corporal Murrum grabbed his head and slammed it into the wall. He felt the pumpkin crack and fall off. Finn turned a human face back to Murrum. Finn? Murrum thought in total confusion. It is not possible. I have known you since you were a young fragment. It is not true. It cannot be. Kraj. Kraj knew. He always knew. He was truly the wisest of us. I'm sorry, Murrum. And Finn was sorry. He really was. Do I still get to pick how I am executed? No, the corporal thought. The Enderman turned to the crowd behind him. Take them both to the cage. Something big and hard and a lot like a fist hit Finn in the back of the head. Lights out. That wraps up chapter 18. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, stay tuned for chapter 19. Hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time.